Well, the weekend has begun, of course. So today we're going to be doing three reviews on this one. The first one is ChocoPro 527, which is, of course, a special day for the Best Bros. As you know, these guys have been a very solid tag team for a couple years, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But there are other fun matches as well you're going to enjoy. And then, of course, we have Major League Wrestling with Fusion, of course, featuring the MLW Women's World Title on the line. Shoko Nakajima defends it against, of course, Shotzi Blackheart, which is going to be huge. Then we have, of course, the MLW World Tag Team Champions, the Skyscrapers, taking on the Good Brothers. And we have, I think, Diego Hill versus Mystico and plenty other things as well. And then finally, of course, AEW Collision, which, of course, features the main event, one of the quarterfinals of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. We have Persephone versus Azuki, who will walk out, of course, the meetup with, of course, Mercedes Monet. That's going to be a very interesting question. So we'll see how things will go. And of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leaded Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Leaded Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers. Let's get down to business. So let's begin, of course, with ChocoPro number 527. Okay, ChocoPro number 527 at Ichigai Square. This happened, of course, on the 30th of May, but it was not uploaded on the YouTube channel just recently, of course, and that is sets it up right there. Now, of course, we did have the Best Bros opening up the show, since obviously this is their show, of course, how they called it up. Of course, they gave the greetings, the infos of the matches, and everything else. But however, we jumped into the ChocoPro Idol unit, of course. They only had about three of them. It's May, of course, being the lead, along with Kaho, and of course, Chiyu was right there. Waka and Rin were not there. I'm pretty much sure maybe they might have been busy or they couldn't make it. Who knows? But we opened up, of course, our first match. We have Minoru Fujita and Sayaka Obihiro taking on Munetatsu Nakamura and Chiko Shikawa. Now, obviously, this is a very implication thing for those do know that she is one half of the tag team champions along with Sayaka. So obviously, I wouldn't be surprised that that Minoru and Obi would aim for Chi, since she is one half of the tag team champions, and that's something I'm sure they probably would aim. I cannot recall if those two have ever been tag champions, but I have recall Obi actually had become tag champion, but with Chi. But eventually, this one ended with there was, of course, the gong was in place. If since the resident chefs decided to disorient people, but it was a double pinfall by both Obi and Fujita onto Chi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. So I wouldn't be surprised if they call their shot some point for a shot of the Asian Dream Tag Team belt. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match, we have Mochi Natsumi taking on Miya Yatsuba. Now, it's been a while since these two have fought each other or teamed before in the past. Ever since Mochi made her appearances in ChocoPro, she's been kind of like going back and forth with Miya. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for Mochi to see how much she has grown. As you all know, Miya is the current Super Asia champion. I would be surprised if she wants to challenge her for the belt, but this was a non-title match. But man, these two ladies went all the way, no hold backs, nothing. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after 10 minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to this at some point, but we'll see. Now, our next match, this was a fun one. We have Antonio Honda and Tokiko Kihara, but they were all dressed up as the BestBros. Tokiko as Balinaki and Antonio Honda as May, but they did had tag along Kaho, who also was dressed up that May. But of course, May Shuga was not liking what she's seeing because it kind of felt like, like a direct insult to her, and it's like, I am the only May, that sort of thing. But of course, at some point during the match, we've been seeing Kaho getting involved. I mean, it was like a bit of a handicap match. I'm like wondering, why did they make this 3-on-2 scenario? And that would have been the logical choice, but no, it did not. But of course, we did see that Antonio Honda and Tokiko tried to play the roles well of both Balin and May, but it failed miserably because in the end, Tokiko was the one who ended up taking the pinfall by Mei Shuga, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our Jonkin tournament, well, it ended with, of course, in the finals with Mei Shuga winning, defeating, of course, Minoru Fujita, and it was a lot of fun. So I have to say it was a pretty good, fun show, despite it was a bit all about the BestBros, but it was fun nonetheless. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for ChocoPro. Let's move on with MLW Fusion. Right, MLW Fusion. We opened up with Killer Cross along with his wife, of course, Scarlett Bordeaux, making their way to the ring to do a promo. So they did a very interesting promo, not something that would tell the story wise. It was more about the fan base, of course, about fans who come and support, you know, have their hard-earned money to come and attend the shows, that sort of thing. Especially those who are not from the general area where they're at, that sort of thing. It was a very interesting thing where they're trying to go. I think MLW are trying to step up, to get themselves elevated. I'm not sure if that was the case, but it was a pretty interesting thing. I mean, I have watched MLW since what, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. But yes, I think it was a pretty good show. But anyway, our first match is of course the MLW Women's World Title. Shotzi Blackheart finally gets her opportunity and faces Big Kaiju Shoko Nakajima. Now, Shoko Nakajima, many of us know who she is. She's from Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling, and she's been every champion that she's been in over there, and that she has a solid reputation. But Shotzi needs to find a way to take down the Big Kaiju. But the real question, how she did it? Well, we did see a big moment of a battle of the sentons. And remember, both ladies used the senton bombs on as a signature, but it was Shotzi's senton that became the killing blow. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new MLW Women's World Champion. And then, of course, we did have Tom Lawler, who made his way to the ring for a post-match comments to ask what's next for her, but she's now saying she's on the hunt for monsters. Now, I don't know what she means by that, but it's kind of interesting. Our next match is Diego Hill versus Mystico. I have to say, this is a very incredible match. For those who don't know, Diego Hill recently has been under the tutelage of Blue Panther, learning a lot from him. And I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, Diego could have pulled up an upset against Mystico, but Mystico was way too much for him until he applied the frog splash. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. However, Mystico put out a very fantastic promo talking to Diego Hill, telling him that, you have one of the best teachers in the world who has 45 years of experience, and you are the most luckiest person to learn under him, saying that you're learning from a legend. And he tells him that you are truly a rising star in MLW, and not to mention telling him, that it was an honor the wrestle alongside him, with wrestle against him. And then, of course, right when that whole thing ended, here comes Austin Aries, who's being interviewed, and apparently, as you know, he still has an unfinished business with Mystico because people are claiming that his win over him was a fluke, that sort of thing, and he wants to correct that. But of course, his real aim was the MLW National Openweight Championship. So he's telling Blue Panther when is he going to put that belt on the line, which kind of is what he's aiming at. Now, in the backstage, we did see Kushida attacking Alan Angels, but turns out he's not the only one. So did Okumura. And for those who don't know, Kushida is part of Contra Unit, and now Okumura seems to join. So don't know what this means in particular, but the match that we're supposed to have got postponed. Now, Rich, I don't know who this guy is, was talking to Hammerstone, tried to apologize to him for what happened last time. Now, as you know, Alex Hammerstone, since his return to MLW, his aim is for the MLW World title, and he wants it. However, he feels like, okay, look, I get it. Riddle beat me to the punch, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to watch this match, how it's going to turn out. So basically, he's telling Rich to book him a night in the hotel on the day when these two are going to face, so he can take a closer look how this is going to turn out. But we'll see. Now, our next match is for the MLW World Tag Team belts. Well, this one came chaotic. There were actually tables being around. I think the idea what they're trying to do, they must put both competitors in one team into the tables, like either it's individually or together. Unfortunately, from both sides, Doc Gallows and Dijak were Bishop Dyer, one of the two, was eliminated. But however, of course, Bishop Dyer helped out Dijak, and he put Carl Anderson through the table, winning the match and retaining the belts. But however, of course, the Good Brothers were not going to let this one stand, because I'm sure their aim is to win the MLW World Tag Team belts. And that's something we definitely would see again at some point. But we'll just wait. But as of right now, we're done with MLW. Let's move on with our last review, and that is AEW Collision. AEW Collision. So we opened up with the AEW Women's World Tag Team title match. Of course, Ty J, as you know, survived the 5-minute Eliminator Challenge, of course, against the Divine Dominion. However, of course, the Divine Dominion could not take this kindly, knowing too well they felt they could have dominated, but they did not. They survived the full 5 minutes, but now they might have considered this must have been a big mistake. We can look into factors how Ty J have been a very strong, cohesive unit, of course. You know how they've been very cohesive from the very beginning. But when it comes to Divine Dominion, that's a different story. But the real question is, will the Divine Dominion be able to survive against Ty J? Well, they did everything humanly possible until, of course, Anna J ended up on the wrong side of the divine intervention, and just like that, pinned by Megan Bayne. 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, once again, of course, the Don Callis family, or as Kyle O'Reilly would say, Don Phallus family, of course, were causing backstage carnage in the back, taking out anybody in sight. But of course, that idiot Rocky Romero decided to criticize the conglomeration for giving Takeshita a backpack. I mean, it seems like Takeshita may be a conglomerate after all, and they take that not too happy about that, about his choices. Well, hey, you guys kicked him out, so he probably enjoying life better than everybody else. Now, our next match, we have Shane Taylor taking on Alan Angels, who you all know him as, of course, Five from the Dark Order. Well, let's just say Shane Taylor had to teach him a lesson on certain things, and he took him out with the package pile driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. However, Shane Taylor, as you know, has an axe to grind against the Death Riders on many levels. Now, as you all know, they seems like they declare war against them. Like, they feel like, you guys declare yourself as the dominant, dangerous faction. Well, guess what? We're dangerous. Now it's time for you guys to go. So they are trying to claim they're the ones who are the more dangerous than them. And that's where it led to, of course, members of Shane Taylor Promotions, the Infantry, Carly Bravo and Sean Dean teaming up with Lee Moriarty to take on Pac, Claudio, and of course Moxley. And that sets it up. And of course, we did see some interference coming from, of course, outside. Even John Moxley did a little 3-on-1 scenario, but it kind of went sideways until, of course, Shane Taylor got involved, until he was taken out, of course. Until Trish also got involved with Pac, and then later Wheeler Yuta and Garcia started attacking Taylor, and then Trish tried to grab the chair to whack Pac, but luckily Marina Shafir showed up and kicked her right in the face, and then took out Christian XO. So that's the thing that they did not anticipate, until, of course, Pac put what's his name, Bravo in the brutalizer, and just like that, he tapped out. It was completely over. However, of course, the war between Shane Taylor Promotions and Death Rider was not over. We did see, of course, Trish Adora grab a cameraman, taking him to where, of course, another carnage took place. Shane Taylor, of course, took out Wheeler Yuta, sending a direct message to him, and of course aiming for the AEW Continental Championship. And of course, John Moxley was going to respond. He did respond, and he accepts the challenge, of course, because he knows he's not an idiot. But the thing is, Shane Taylor better play by the rules of the Continental title, where no seconds were allowed. So we'll see how that plays out too. Now, we did see Tommaso Ciampa, of course. He decided to show up and face off Beef, but this one ended when, of course, what's his name? Tommaso applied a Walls of Jericho, or as the commentators call it, the Walls of Ciampa onto Beef, and then, of course, just like that. But however, in the post-match, Tommaso Ciampa wanted Tony Schiavone say it that I'm better than Jericho. So that's, and of course he had to say it because you don't want to piss off someone like Ciampa. But the real question is, what's Jericho gonna do? We haven't heard from him since the attack. Well, we'll just have to wait and see from that. Now, Clark Connors takes on Juice Robinson. These guys, of course, know each other too well. Part of the Bullet Club, so that kind of sets it up. But man, these guys went all the way, did everything humanly possible to beat the crap out of each other in every way, until, of course, Finlay decided to intervene and whack him with the shillelagh. And just like that, the spear was played on by Connors, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Clark Connors picked up the win. But however, David Finlay, along with Clark Connors, decided to take out Juice Robinson. But thank God for the Bang Bang Gang. Ace Austin and Colton Gunn showed up just in the nick of time. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, as you know, we have the vacancy of the TBS Championship. So, as you know, there's going to be series of matches on who will be the sixth to be part of the first ever Survival of the Fittest in an AEW setting. And here are people who announced, of course, that were already making their claims. Hikaru Shida, who we know she hasn't held this belt yet. Chris Statlander, former TBS champion, of course. Mina Shirakawa, who hasn't held a championship. Harley Jackson, Harley Cameron, who was former AEW Women's World Tag Team champion. Queen Aminata, Zeta Steel. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more. I'm sure Julia Hart will be in the mix, of course. That's something they'll be familiarized. Now, next up we have the AEW World Trios titles. LFI, Rouge, Dralistico, and Sammy Guevara, of course, taking on the Conglomeration, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and of course Orange Cassidy. So of course we're going to see Orange Cassidy being orange as he normally is. And then of course he played around with Sammy Guevara. Well, you know how Sammy likes to spin around and does the pose, like he's like a model. Well, let's just say Orange Cassidy used that against him. But in the end, of course, it was Orange Cassidy that pulled up a roll up onto Dralistico, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, of course, the Dogs, as you know, they are happy with how things turned out for Clark Connors' match. It seems now that they're aiming for the AEW World Tag Team Champions. Of course, they're taking great pleasure in wiping out both Christian and Adam Copeland, but I'm sure if I were them, I wouldn't turn my back on them one way or the other. Now, we did see, of course, our last interview with Lex Lanier with the Conglomeration. Of course, they wanted later. Of course, we did see RPG Vice, who of course won a shot of those belts. But however, they offered him a proposition where, of course, Andrade will be involved. And of course Andrade's like, whatever, that sort of thing. Now, our main event is the women's quarterfinals of the Owen Hart tournament. Azuki versus Persephone. Now, of course, as you know, Persephone is still, of course, a little blind from her left eye after that miss by Julia Hart, so that kind of played out. But man, these girls went all the way until then, of course. But unfortunately, Azuki was able to pick up the win with the Magistral, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. And of course, the post-match, we did see a bit of respect between Persephone and Azuki until Mercedes Moné attacked her from behind. And of course, it was payback for, of course, don't forget, it was Persephone that defeated Mercedes Moné for the CML Women's World Title. But Azuki showed up and started beating the crap out of her. And then, of course, the whole fight continued on because, as you know, these two will meet once again at, of course, in the Owen Hart in the semifinals, I believe. But we'll see what happens until then. So we're officially done with AEW and every other review. So let's move on to our last and final team to wrap up our episode, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So it's going to be a bit of a short one for everyone. Now, we only got one update on the upcoming events. Now, as you know, I mentioned about the RevPro Women's Grand Prix that will happen on the 25th. Well, another name has been mentioned. This time is CML's very own Suxis. She'll be participating in this. She is the second entry. As you know, the first entry into this is none other than Zoe Zarano, formerly known as Zoe Stark. Now, on to developments. Now, some of you may have noticed that Tessa Blanchard has been working with CMLL for a couple of years, ever since, of course, things have not been turning out well for her because of her behavior, attitude, however you want to do it. However, TNA are putting immense pressure on her because they're not happy with her recent work with CML. Now, I'm not sure if there is determination they want her to quit working with them, or because as you know, TNA are in a partnership with WWE and they acquired AAA. I don't know if that's something that they want her to do, but that is something. As you all know, she is dating another wrestler down there in Mexico named Insfigen. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but if there's any news about this, I'll let you guys know. Fightful Select reports that AEW said that there's going to be new talent coming this summer. Now, it's still unclear what talent are they talking about. There are some people who are suspicious about the much recent developments that's been going on, but we'll see what happens from there. Now, Danhausen, as you know, has been making his way around the NBA recently with the whole uncursing of the New York Knicks. Well, he had this to say that he posted out on his social media. So let me pull it up for all of you. Yes, this is what he said. Hello, it's Danhausen. Danhausen needs a giant floating Danhausen balloon ready for a parade that drops pizza and hot dogs to all New Yorkers. Danhausen may be placed between Snoopy and Garfield. P.S. Give the Muppet who lives in a garbage can an apartment so he can get off the street and turn his life around. So yes, and this was the list of demands that he sent to Mayor Mandami, of course, of New York City. So I don't know what he's going to respond to that. So I thought it was really interesting. Now, MJF recently was on the Players Tribune. He had this to say about how, you know, people are against the existence of AEW, that sort of thing. So this is says AEW matters not just because it exists, but because it's how it exists. Listed. If you Google me, I think it's say I'm 5'11", but we all know that's a horse crap. I'm like 5'8", and the and this is a place where, simply put, 5'8" Jew can be world champ. If you know of wrestling history, then you know that that's the big deal and why. So I welcome anybody being critical of AEW. God knows I am. If you're actually actively rooting against us existing, guess what? You are an effing worse. You're rooting against workers, and that's the truth. He's right. I mean, look, we know there's been fans that are like against AEW, like especially the WWE loyalists. They're like telling, when is AEW gonna go? They're a bunch of crap. Their product sucks. They deserve to go. But MJF made a good, valid point. What about the everybody who works there? You're saying that they don't matter? And that's why it exists. I mean, look, WWE only takes certain wrestlers that they want. Like, they think, oh, they followed their parameters, that sort of thing. That was one of the things. Remember how Sammy Guevara tried out, but they told him, sorry, because the only reason they didn't want him is because he loves wrestling, and they treat that like it's a bad word. But it is what it is. That's why AEW exists, because it's about you loving pro wrestling like you love it before. So that's what it's all about. So we'll leave things as it is right now, so let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you all know, we are now entering the finals of the Best of the Super Juniors by New Japan Pro Wrestling. As you probably know, this is a bit of a rematch from last year. Last year, Kosta Fujita won, but the real question is, can he do it again, or Yo will finally get the opportunity to be the Best of the Super Juniors? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I do know Stardom did have some recent shows. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see those, but if I do, good for me. And I am considering watching, of course, Baka Gaijins and Friends in Manila. This is volume 2 of that show, so I'm thinking about doing that too. So we'll see how things go from there. But as of this moment, that's pretty much it. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.